to a dramatic start here on Mr. Parsifal bringing us in to another installment of Hints on Singing with Manuel Garcia. And turn down my background music way down here. Today we're gonna get straight to the reading, I think. Bring up my book here. We are reading Hints on Singing by Manuel Garcia. If you're not familiar with this series, sometimes I take a little while to get to the reading. But tonight I'm going to start with the reading because I've got some rice cooking on the stove, and I figure I'll read some Manuel Garcia Hints on Singing, and then we'll take a little quick break, and during that break I'll go check on my rice. I've also got some very tasty, one moment here, got some tasty slow cooked chicken. I'm just making myself hungry here. It's Friday night, and what I like about Friday is it's pretty much guaranteed no one's gonna be here. I'm all alone here doing a live stream, which is kind of fun, in its own way. It's cool. So yeah, and the theme of this series is that we actually read the books. We're starting with Hints on Singing by Manuel Garcia. I guess maybe to troll a little bit, because this is also being played on This Is Opera. And as you know, my criticism of This Is Opera and that whole crowd is that they're not actually interested in old school books or anything to do with any of that. They're just interested in looking like they play the role of the voice teacher well enough that they can have a business and keep that business going. So I think that's how that works. Anyway, it's kind of a long tradition. So on this channel though, we're actually reading the book. I'm not sure what we're going to read next. I was thinking maybe Your Voice by Douglas Stanley. But that's also kind of trolling to be reading that, because it's another old school. I guess it calls itself old school, but I don't think it's very, very old school. I think it's a lot of the stuff that the current old school people claim. But anyway, I'm not sure it matters all that much if something is old school or not. I think it matters whether it works. So we've gone through Manuel Garcia's explanation of how vowels are made, and now we're going to talk about the mechanism of the consonants. And for all the ones who might complain that I take too long to start reading the book, today we're starting with it. And I believe you have a point, and maybe I should start from now on. At least try to keep the reading of the book near the beginning. Now, according to my levels and everything, my microphone is working, and there's no problem there.
Dovrebbe un cantante servirsi della voce di petto?
No.
Okay. Yeah, that works too. Let's see if this works. Right, and so please do get in touch if you're interested in that. It's a complete package, but focused on classical singing, male, female, or whatever we're supposed to say, whatever you identify as. Yeah, tenor, soprano, bass. Bring it on down, and we'll coach up some opera singing. So, but for now, we're reading Manuel Garcia. And some of the stuff so far I agree with, and then, well, if you've been here paying attention, then you notice I don't quite always agree with Manuel when it comes to how he thinks things work. What he thinks works and what he thinks doesn't. Okay, here we go. Manuel Garcia. Hints on singing. Section 34. Mechanism of the consonants. What is the mechanism of the consonants? We have seen that consonants spring from the obstacles presented to issuing sounds by the organs of the mouth, viz., lips, teeth, tongue, hard palate, soft palate, etc. These organs, combined in couples, intercept every issue of sound, or partially arrest it. When the passage is completely closed, the air accumulates behind the organs, and it is only at the moment of separation that the consonant is heard as an explosion. What are the consonants thus produced? F, p, t, ch, k, ch, as in chin. Each two organs can only produce one explosive consonant. What are the other consonants? The permanent. If the organs permit an issue from the mouth or nose, the noise of the consonants can continue as long as the breath. Thus are produced the L, M, N, TH, R, S, SH, W, X, Y, GL, and GN. Besides the explosives and the permanent consonants, other consonants, called semi-explosives, share the characteristics of both series. They produce a slight murmur which lasts during the very short time taken by the vocal cavity to fill itself with air. These are G, B, D, and J, and that's a hard G. G. It is during this resounding that they must be articulated so as not to be mistaken for their corresponding explosives. What are the functions of the consonants? Consonants are the skeletons of the words. Applied to song, they have three distinct functions: to convey the sense of the words, to beat time and mark the rhythm by their percussions, non più andrai farfallone amoroso. Or rugged than the cherry, or sweeter than the berry. I can't sing down there. Anyway, through their varied degrees of energy, they declare the state of activity of the sentiment, just as the vowels manifest its nature. Odei, quagli il carnefice del padre mio. Saziati sorcera. What is it? Sorcerea. I can't read. Son disperato. Okay. These sentences owe their force to the consonants. If vowels could be substituted, the cry of anguish would lose at once its poignant force, and no volume of sound would restore it. Besides, energy, in the deliverance of consonants, conquers the mechanical resistance that groups of consonants oppose to the organs of speech by their number or their nature. It gives traveling power to the words in a large locale. How do you graduate the strength of articulation? The intensity of the voice and the extent of the space to be filled must regulate the degree of power to be supplied to the consonants. Declamation demands greater emphasis than speech, and singing requires more than declamation. But it may be said again that no jerks, no force of voice can be substituted for the clearness, precision, and energy of articulation, which alone can carry the words to a distance. Violence would cause singing to resemble barking. The best method is to prolong each consonant as much as may be consistent with the character of the piece. Would not that prolongation be misleading as to which are single or double consonants? I think not. The proportion should establish the difference. Single consonants must be obtained by a more rapid movement of the articulating organs, and that rapidity should be relative to the space to be traversed. Though always clear and precise, the consonants will be less rapid in a vast locality than in a small one. The double consonants are produced, without exception, by prolonging the silence which precedes the explosion, as in troppo, tutto, and ecco, and by maintaining through the sounds the noise which forms the permanent consonants, as in bella, colonna. This also is the case when a consonant ends a word, begins the word that follows. Non negar, do not touch. A song gives pleasure. Have you any other remarks to make on consonants? A few on the letters L, M, N, R, and D. When they terminate the syllables, if indistinctly given, the meaning of the word is obscured or lost. The letters M, N receive the nasal twang by closing the mouth with the lips for the letter M, and by the tongue for the letter N. The R ought to be rolled when it is an initial, as in rage, a river, a river, when it is double, as in terror, or when united with another consonant to form a syllable, as in prodigious. Yes. Or grace. In any other case, it must be produced by a single touch of the tongue against the teeth. This rule, which belongs to the Italian language, is applicable to English in singing. Mm-hmm. Well, that's kind of interesting. So let's review. And then I'll talk a little bit about my thoughts on consonants, because I think there's some important things to notice about consonants, and then I'm gonna have some serious disagreements with some of the stuff he's saying, some of what he's saying here, which doesn't seem to make sense to me. Let's get into a different scene. Okay, so the mechanism of the consonants. And we're using the word mechanism, I guess, in a kind of loose way. But okay. It's pretty self-explanatory. It's more or less the way we explain consonants this way. Some of the terminology we can just translate into modern linguistics, I guess is the word, linguistics, or phonetics, modern phonetics. And he defines what consonants are. Consonants are these explosions or partial explosion. You stop air, basically. The air accumulates, pressure accumulates behind the whatever is blocking the vocal tract, the obstruction. And then when it's separated, we hear something. We hear possibly an extra sound. In the case of some sounds, like when I go like, k, 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 k. So it's not my vocal cords making this k, k, k sound. It's another part of my vocal tract. It's my tongue against my hard palate, or it could be further forward on my alveolar ridge. Yeah, so that's how consonants work. Basically, you're stopping air. Oh, that's right. I have to go. I'll be right back, guys. I'm gonna go check my rice. Rice is looking all right. I kind of have set the temperature pretty low. Okay, so... Oh, hi, Tenorinka, and welcome. So, I'm not sure... Sorry, I didn't... Huh. Chats are supposed to pop up on here. But I guess... Oh, there they are. Yeah, but for some reason that I didn't notice that you made a comment there. Let me go check my chat thing. Make sure that I've got this properly set up over here. Ah, there's your comment. So sorry about that. I missed your comment. I'm sure I was not being serious about something, so I apologize for not being serious. I'll try to be serious. We have read this section here, so I don't know if you have any questions about that, serious or otherwise. I'll be happy to answer them. So, he's giving the sounds f, p, t, ch, and k. And today those are called, I think those are called fricatives. So I think he's describing fricatives. I believe that's the... I hope maybe we got it. Someone with some phonetics. But I think, and I guess I could do an internet search, but I think this is fricatives. I'm going to do a search. There's nobody here. I mean, Tenerrinka. Tenerrinka's here. Maybe. I don't know. Doubt it. Oh, you were over on Mr. Opera, so. Look up fricatives, though. Let's see if that's what we're talking about. Make sure I'm getting the right information here. Yeah, fricatives. And I'll give a modern definition from... This is the World Atlas of Language Structures Online. Fricatives are the kinds of sounds usually associated with letters such as F, S, V, Z, or Z, whatever you like to say, in which the air passes through a narrow constriction that causes the air to flow turbulently and thus create a noisy sound. The other consonants which are found in the majority of languages are called nasals. Well, anyway. Plosive, fricative. Let me see if I can find a better... Let's see. Anyway, so that's that. So I was correct there. That is indeed what we currently call fricatives. And what are the other consonants? The permanent if organs permit an issue from the mouth or nose, the noise of the consonants can continue as long as the breath. That would make them not permanent. So that's a funny terminology. I guess he had to say something, but obviously they're not permanent if they only last as long as one breath. Maximum. But he has L, M, N, T, H. So L. So M is now considered, that's called a labial consonant now. L is, I guess, lingual. Let me see. Let's see what our current terminology is more like. What is this? Let's accept some cookies. No, I'm gonna look up the consonants. So consonants. No, this is no good. Stand by, guys. Oh, different types of fricatives. Okay, I'm getting somewhere. Okay. So we've got fricatives, plosives, nasals. I guess M is a nasal, but it's also labial. Affricate, which begins like a stop. Plosive, often called a stop, is an oral occlusive, where the occlusion blocking of the vocal tract and no nasal airflow. But what we're looking for is voiced consonants, because that's what they're called today. Manner of articulation. Well, anyway. Broadly speaking, so these days they have... Okay. These days they have a bigger distinction between obstruents. So manners of articulation with substantial obstruction of the airflow in general are called obstruents. So a lot of what he's talking about. And they are usually voiceless, but there is voiced obstruents as well. Manners without such obstruction: nasals, liquids, approximants, and also vowels. That all goes together into sonorants. So we got obstruents and sonorants. So instead of vowels and consonants, we've got... So instead of vowels and consonants, and then today, this is called obstruents. Need an eraser here. Get rid of this. Oh, jeez. Obstruents and that doesn't fit. So obstruents and that's really... I'm sorry, guys. So no. Obstruents and sonorants is our modern language here. And then that's further broken down into a whole bunch of different categories. And I guess things today are... it looks like it's a little bit better organized, and then it isn't all centered around Italian. So that's really quite different. Oh, I guess. Okay, no one's yelling at me for not being serious. So now I'm being serious, and no one's gonna say anything. It's Friday night, and I'm reading Garcia. So I'm reading Manuel Garcia. I think I'm the serious one here. Now let's get to the part I disagree with. I mean, other than this idea that, okay, permanence. I think we can all learn about how consonants work, and that's great. But I think where consonants really matter is when you're actually putting something together, and you have to actually do something with your vowels, and you go to do your consonant, and then your vowels are all messed up. Either that, or some people just, they just say fuck it, and they don't really articulate much at all as far as consonants go. Now he mentions that consonants are there to beat time and mark rhythm by their percussions. And that's interesting because the way I was taught, I'm going to highlight this because actually I was taught something else. I was taught that this is incorrect. And I'll explain why. In, I guess you could say, modern rhythm, modern classical rhythm, the way almost every classical conductor or musical partner that you'll come across today is going to be expecting the vowel to come on the beat and the consonant to always precede the beat. They would say that you sound like you're dragging, maybe, like you're behind the beat, if you're putting that consonant on the beat. So if I have this phrase that's here, non più andrai farfallone amoroso, I would want to have all of the consonants before the beat so that what you hear, if you're just listening to the beginning of the rhythm of each beat, is vowel. And a lot of times people they'll rehearse without consonants in order to establish this. So you don't want non più andrai, sorry. Non più andrai farfallone amoroso. You would want non più andrai farfallone amoroso. You can be a little bit early, but you don't want to be late, and you don't. Well, let's talk a little bit more about what he's also advocating. He's saying that consonants can be expressive, and I don't disagree that you can make some expression with how you deliver your consonants, but there's some things in here that are just flat out wrong. And I'm surprised that they're in a book. I'm going to highlight this area. He claims that consonants gives traveling power, he means over a distance, to words in a large locale. So I guess in a large hall, in a big room. And I've just never found it to be the case. I've heard, well, it will continue. Because he claims it for sure more than once. This is, maybe he could be saying it here, but he says it for sure that this is what he means. The intensity of the voice and the extent of the space to be filled must regulate the degree of power to be supplied to the consonants. Declamation demands greater emphasis than speech, and singing requires more than declamation. But it may be said again that no jerks, no force of voice can be substituted for the clearness, precision, and energy of articulation, which alone can carry the words to a distance. Violence would cause singing to resemble barking. The best method is to prolong each consonant as much as may be consistent with the character of the piece. And then he sets himself up with a softball question. Is that not going to confuse people about whether it's a double or a single consonant? And of course not, because it's proportional. So as long as the double consonants are twice as long as the single consonants, then within reason you could sell anything as, this is a single, this is a double. But the issue here, major issue, make your loudest consonant. Think of the loudest singer in your whole life that you've ever heard. Think of the biggest singers in history. Think of Franco Corelli. Think of Mario Del Monaco. No, not even. Think of Birgit Nilsson, okay? And as loud as Birgit Nilsson's voice was, as big as that singer was, however big her consonants were, any person off the street could beat that sound with vowels. So if Birgit Nilsson is in a singing contest against any person off the street, and the competition is to see who can sing louder than the other, except Birgit Nilsson's not allowed to use any vowels, only consonants. And the other person's allowed to use vowels. Just about anybody can beat Birgit Nilsson because consonants don't make a lot of noise. You cannot project your voice with consonants. Consonants interrupt your vowels. That's how that works. They make less sound, and yes, we can hear them, and yes, it matters that we can hear them clearly to some extent, unless you're a soprano, because who cares? No, just kidding. But it does matter less with sopranos, who often are singing, in any case, above where we could recognize any vowels anyway. So there's zero chance of them being understood. So it makes sense. Just do whatever it takes to sing your best vowels, or your best pitches, best sounds that you can. But any one of you could outsing Birgit Nilsson if if she weren't allowed to use any vowels. So it's absolutely insane to tell singers that you can simply prolong your vowels, or that prolonging your consonants, that you can simply prolong consonants in order to make them stronger, or to make your voice carry better. And it's also, he's kind of talking himself into a corner, because he's saying, yeah, these consonants are done by stopping air and building up pressure behind them. So yeah, then obviously it makes sense then that if you want to make them louder, what are you going to have to do? You're going to have to use more air, or more pressure. So if you want a really explosive sounding T sound, then you've got to build up a lot of pressure behind it. And then when you release it, a lot of air is going to want to come out. If you want a really loud sound, your only option is to blow out more air. Well, I guess you could try to like twang it. You could try to make some like raise the pitch of your H sound to try to slow down the air a little bit, right? But no matter what you do, you can't make your H loud, and then as even all of your other consonants, none of them are something that you can use to establish a connection to your audience. Consonants are ways of breaking the connection to your audience, or weakening the connection to your audience. And in that sense, you can use them artistically. It's like trimming something away. It's like, if you're sculpting, you might have a chisel, and the chisel takes things away from your rock. Now, the point of sculpture is to make nice rocks, right? So you don't want to take away all the rocks, but still, it's taking away rocks. It's taking stone away from something that makes it look like a sculpture. So consonants are just like that chisel, taking away something from your voice, and that something is vowels. So you cannot do what he's saying, and you cannot make yourself more easily understood even just by adding more duration, lengthening your consonants. Generally, in a big hall, I think what people hear is the interruption of the sound. And that means that your intelligibility, how well people can understand you, is going to come down probably to more than your consonants. It's going to have a lot to do with your vowels, but probably just also psychology, how you're able to use misdirection and other tricks to try to get your audience to hear what you want them to hear. And something worth mentioning here when we're talking about double consonants is phrasal doublings. So if you're not working with raddoppiamento sintattico in Italian, the phrasal doublings, then I suggest looking that up because it's really cool. It basically means that there's more double consonants than you realized, that some of them are not written. Oops. Let's see. Yeah. So some of the double consonants in Italian are just implied. To give an example, if you had the following in Italian, Make sure that you can see here. Oh. So if I have, that looks like è vero, right? But because of this rule, because of some rule, this word è turns other words into as if they had double consonants at the beginning. Whoops. So instead of pronouncing it like instead of pronouncing it like that, è vero, you pronounce it like è vero. Oops. Yeah. And there's like lists. You just look up you can just look it up. Oh, I put myself in the way. So like that. È vero. Yeah, and so that's useful, but it's never going to help you project. And one second, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna go check on this rice. I'll give you a little. Yeah, no, nobody's watching. I don't even have to apologize. First time cooking and live streaming all at once. It's Friday night. Nobody's here anyway. Oh, there's somebody. There's a couple of you watching. Hello, whoever you are. The larynx. Oh jeez, loud ass background music. Okay. I guess let's take a look in. I'm gonna close Manuel Garcia here. What happens if I do this? Talking about some knowledge. And I'm going to fire up Blender. And let's see if we can take a look at some vocal track shapes. Oh, what's all this? Oh, that's not what I wanted. One moment, guys. No, that's coming up. Okay. Get a little background music here. Is there anything in there?
Questa quella per me pari solo a quant'altro d'intorno mi vedo nel mio cuore l'impero non
music playing.
meglio azzurra che ad altra beltà la costoro a vedere se qual dono di che il padre il fiore la vita giusto di questa mi sembra gradita forse un'altra domanda sarà forse un'altra domanda sarà la cassara tiranna del cuore desertiamo col morbo crudele col chi vuole ti servi fedele
I'd love to know what you guys are listening to. I can't hear it at all. Let's see if I can. I'm gonna reset the monitoring. Yeah, I can't hear it. Oh, there we go. Ah, questo o quella. Okay. Just leave this in the back. Uh-huh. That's behaving oddly. One second, guys. I'm opening up Blender. So we could try to take a look at the vocal tract. I'll try not to forget what I was trying to say. It's about the tongue. Essentially being part of the larynx. I mean, it's not, but you can almost think of it that way. The one never goes anywhere without the other. I've got to... Oh, here we go. It updated. Okay. See if If I can move into my vocal tract here. Alright. Make sure you guys are seeing what I'm seeing. Doesn't seem to be updating well. Huh. Oh, very strange. I don't know what's going on. Get rid of that. Okay, let's see if this is working now. And I'll try not to shut my own stream down again. Yeah, okay. So I got my vocal tract up. Well, sort of. So what we've got here is I pulled away the neck muscles and everything. And this is essentially this is the vocal tract with some extrinsic muscles. I've got the muscles that come from the hyoid bone is still in here. And some of these are not quite in the right place. Like for instance, these muscles that are kind of floating in the air, those attached to the jaw, so they need to be repositioned. I just wanted a quick and dirty 3D look at the parts in general. So I'm just gonna get rid of these. And this yellow muscle that we're looking at here, that attaches to the hyoid bone, that's the hyoglossus muscle. So this is muscle running down the side of the tongue. And then if we're following it up, I'll pull the jaw away. So if we're following this muscle up, let's see, I can use my annotation here. This runs up to the side of the tongue, and you don't feel this happening. But when you're pulling your tongue towards your hyoid bone, this tongue would be involved. This muscle would be involved. So we're talking about this. And here's our hyoid. Oops. And there's our tongue. And it doesn't end there. So if you wanted to stretch, if you want to stretch your tongue away from your hyoid, you can. But you're stretching on each side, you're stretching this muscle. And then if I were to pull this away, that's the styloglossus? Okay, so if I pull this away, and we'll also pull away this digastric muscle. That's totally in the wrong place. Not connected. That's the back half of the digastric muscle. It's not connected, and there's 2 copies of it. Sorry. Obviously, this project is a mess. So at the base, at the base of the tongue, going to the chin, is this muscle called the genioglossus, and it's genioglossus means like tongue to chin muscle, and it's thought of as the connection from the tongue to the chin. But look how it's shaped. It goes towards the hyoid bone, and when I was researching this, I thought, well, that's weird. So is it actually connected to the hyoid bone? Like, not just the tongue connected to the chin, but there's meat like the whole way under there that actually also connects to the larynx, essentially, the top of the larynx. So yeah, and that's what's going on. If I bring the skull back, so that muscle that was running down the middle of the tongue and underneath it didn't just connect the chin to the tongue, it's also connecting the chin to the hyoid, and then therefore the hyoid to the tongue. So anytime the tongue is reaching up, it's either going to be limited by the larynx, or the larynx is high, or it's stretching. But it's not going to be able to reach up and do all of the normal articulations that you might do, like t and d, or especially articulations in the front of the mouth, are going to wind up being really difficult with the hyoid bone lowered, because that's pulling a bunch of the muscles of the tongue downwards. So yeah, what I have to say, especially about the tongue, well, about consonants. We're talking about consonants because we were reading. And hello, Anna Okonovenko. Welcome. Whoops, that's not what we're doing. Sorry. My stuff is misbehaving. I'm trying to... 1 second here. See what's going on. Well, I don't know what's going on. Why? Oh, must be something like that. Well, yep, there we go. It's just disappearing on me for some reason. Well, we were looking at Blender and trying to... What? This is mysterious and unexplainable behavior. Oh, jeez. Now I just got nothing. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I don't know what happened to my. I'll try one more thing. Could try just restarting Blender. But I guess it doesn't matter. What I was trying to say is that you need some kind of strategy if you're expecting to keep your larynx low and you're also expecting to articulate with some strength. And I've seen some reasonable advice that you have to build tongue independence. And Anna, I mean, you haven't said anything that's bad English yet, so I wouldn't know that your English is bad. You could have told me that you're an English teacher, and I would not know. But welcome to Mr. Opera. So you can choose between, I guess, between trying to resist the larynx coming up when you articulate. It's not, I guess it's a few things. You can try to, let's at least have something up here. Why is this behaving like this? Sorry. I'm gonna try one more thing. Well, at least got that. Oh, there we go. We can start Blender up again. One second, I think I can get this working. Okay. Let's see. There we go. Okay. So sorry. So what I was saying is that you can choose between skipping the consonant. You can choose speed, or you can have strength, or resisting. So let's say I have the combination G and A, ga, and the most relaxed, easiest way to do this ga is to let your larynx come up. Ga. If we look at this again, this structure of the larynx and the tongue together it's one big thing. I'm sorry that I have some wonky materials on some of these objects. It's maybe easier if we look at it this way. So if I want to hold my larynx down and then reach forward with my tongue, I can do that. I could maybe help it by retracting my neck. Those tricks will work. I could also, though, think about letting my larynx come up if I wanted it to be down for the vowel, and then bringing it down as quickly as possible. Those are all different approaches. So if I were going for a higher note, ga, 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 and trying to hold my larynx down, ga, ga, it's quite excuse me, it's quite destabilizing and well, that was a bit irritating. And it makes sense because this G sound is quite muscular. So, but if I instead don't worry about holding my larynx down during the G sound, or even think about raising my larynx and then lowering it as quickly as I can. Ga, 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 ga. That's a lot more sustainable. It makes a nice big loud sound. Ga, ga, ga. And I don't need. Let's see if I can show my larynx a bit better. If I try to hold it down, that's what I wind up with. Because the gesture of reaching up to really make this G sound is, well, it's kind of yanking on my larynx from the inside through these connections. And it's also disturbing the shape of the epilarynx. So, and these are important to getting the sound. So if I just replace with this idea of making this G sound quickly, then I have more success. Now, this is exactly the opposite of what Garcia was recommending. Garcia would want me to make this sound as long as possible. Well, and I guess it's not the opposite at all, because he's not recommending that I get out of this position slowly. He's more concerned with staying in it longer, and then, well, in that respect, what I'm teaching and what Garcia's teaching are more or less the same. There's no difference. It's a different way of actually doing it. It's a bigger disagreement than that. Yeah, so that's what I would say about consonants. Another thing to notice about consonants, and if you give me just 1 second, because I'm going to go check on my rice one more time. I'll be back. Yeah, if you guys saw the food that's waiting for me, you would know how much I am sacrificing for this channel. No, but Yeah. Oh, Anna, it just occurred to me that you're here for those other videos. Anyway, I guess that's all. That's all I wanted to say today. I just wanted to talk about moving quickly. There was something else on my mind, but then I smelled this chicken that I made and this rice. I don't care about you guys. No. Other than moving quickly when you make your consonants and moving in a muscular way, another thing I thought I would add to what Manuel Garcia is telling us is that you can notice the pitch of your consonants. So if you make the sound k, 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 with a high larynx, it makes a particular sound. If I start to lower my larynx as I make this sound, and in the case of this sound, it's not a big deal. It's not like this g sound that I was showing you. That's more muscular for the tongue. This doesn't need a lot of pressure from the tongue. So, but if I start to lower my larynx, it starts to lower the pitch of the vowel. And it starts to lower the well, it's not really a pitch, I guess, but the frequencies that we hear in the consonant. The same is going to be true for v, v, f, 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 as you lower the larynx, your consonant sounds will change. And as you get into different vocal coordinations for the coming vowel, often your consonant sound will change. And that means you can often set up your next vowel during your consonant by using that relationship. And by listening to what is the actual pitch of your consonants, a lot of times you can know something about what I call area of interest number 1. So the rule, I guess, that I'm going to add, that's a bigger thing than I was implying, is that the pitch of your consonants is going to result in, or the pitch of your consonants is a sign of the length of area of interest number 1. Yeah, so that's all. And then I did also want to talk about a quick thing that was worth noticing, and which is that Manuel Garcia was calling nasality twanging the nose, I think, or something like that. Let's bring that up again. And close this. Let's bring up Manuel Garcia again. Oh. Let's see if the dog is gonna let me zoom in. I need both hands. Oh, that was a different. Let's see. Where does he call it? The nasal twang. Yeah. The letters M, N receive the nasal twang by closing the mouth with the lips for the letter M and by the tongue. It's interesting he doesn't notice that ñ. Well, maybe he doesn't list it. I guess he just considers that like N, ñ. But sounds like ñ are also nasal. Yeah. So that's a very early use of that term nasal twang, and then I'd be interested to know if there's other instances anybody knows of Garcia using this word twang, and then also what's the original French word here? Which word did he use for twang? I wonder if he said Nazar. Nazar. There's Nazar and there's Nasal in French. These two sounds, and Nazar is used for organs. There's an organ pipe that's Nazar, or an organ stop. And I think it has twang or something like that. I don't know. Probably not. Okay, so I'm going to go because I've got Mr. Opera's assistant here. Wants to go out. But while I'm here and almost nobody else is, we're looking for a name for Mr. Opera's assistant. This is Mr. Opera's assistant. He's currently licking the microphone. Yeah. So what do you think Mr. Opera's... I'm Mr. Opera. And then what would Mr. Opera and this guy would be a sidekick. So, yeah, let me know if you're watching this later on. Leave a comment what you think we should name him for the show. It would be his stage name, his professional name. We don't use his real name because he's a private dog. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So, see you guys.
The straw.
It's just a straw, right?
It's not just any old straw. We've sized it very particularly, you guys.
So the SWT Straw Pro comes with a minimum of 40 resistance configurations in one device.
And then we have 2 straws that are the exact same size, diameter, and length. And this is so that we have options.
After you've practiced the exercises for maybe 5 minutes,
you'll see here that the vocal cords aren't in sync with each other.
You have to put more work within the body to just get things going because the straw isn't providing you with enough.
it is very important that you let no air escape around the straw between your lips or through your nose.
But the thing is with that, it cuts off the nasal resonance part of singing, which is very important to singing.
It's almost as if you're trying to release it out through the straw to whatever's in front of you.
You will find when you go back to normal speech that your voice seems to be coming out of your eyes instead of your throat.
If you are splashing yourself, you're creating volcanoes, and that is not allowed.
A wise man once said, "There is a sucker born every minute."
No, 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 no. Oh, hell no.
So just grab a straw.
For those of you who talk several hours a day and your voice gets tired, here's a tip to keep you talking. Press your voice like this